Two. Consider the source. That's Alec Baldwin talking about, well, Twitter, believe it or not. But consider the source. Dr. Fauci, Donald Trump, Nancy Pelosi, CNN, Fox News, Twitter, Newsmax. Consider the source. It's Rob Nelson Live. Hey everybody, welcome to the show. It's Monday night. We're doing a Monday night special. It's the post-Christmas pre-New Year's because we won't be doing a Friday show because that's New Year's Day and none of you will come to listen. So thanks for watching. If you're out there, we're streaming on just about everything we can think of streaming on. And we love it when you guys interact. I love it. Crafty loves it. The show loves it. So, get in it with us. Facebook, Twitter. We got a lot of Reddit and Facebook users, Instagram, YouTube. Join in, be part of the conversation. And I'm going to say it now. I'm going to try to remember to say it later. If you like what you're seeing, follow the show and share it with somebody. We're building an audience, trying to do a different kind of conversation. So today, we're going to have a little bit of fun. But there's a point underneath the fun. So I called this show Consider the Source. Consider the Source. So let's start with what this all started with, which is Hilaria, also known as Hillary Baldwin, Alec Baldwin's wife, gets in a heap of trouble. And if you follow pop culture, you probably saw the story. I got a political take on it, but let me tell you what happened. So Hilaria is Alec Baldwin's wife. She's a yoga wellness instructor, obviously has a huge following. She's married to Alec Baldwin. And, sort of is the classic, I'm going to pick on the left and the right today, but she's like that classic woke liberal. Like she sent out a thing, share this with anyone you're still talking to, like, ha, ha, ha. She's pretty much a West Coast elite. Let's just acknowledge that. So Hilaria posts a picture of herself with her baby in this like fancy, shishi underwear. Crafty, can we see that picture? There it is. And she says, post-bath, getting ready for the day, photo by Carmen, can't stop smelling this baby. I know I told you guys the other day about lavender, waxoline ointment cream. She goes on, and I'm going to lean to the left so I get my own picture here. And it's a cream she promotes that's good for you. And here's a picture of her and her, really nice, lingerie holding her little baby. Okay, she's got like 5 kids. All right, post this up at Hilaria Baldwin. To which Amy Schumer comes back being funny and posts this Instagram post. This is Amy Schumer saying, I get it. I went to Spain a couple times and loved it too. So she's like, she posts this picture and she sort of pretends in this series of Instagrams, thanks Crafty, that she is making fun of that she's hilarious, she's Hilaria with the baby. And it kind of goes back and forth, and Hilaria responds and is like, it's not appropriate, and talks about how we, it's body shaming and we should have body inclusivity. And I'm already going like, what? Wait, what? Like, what? Like Amy Schumer's making a joke. You look like that, and there's your perfect picture of your perfect body with your lingerie. How is she body shaming you? How is she body shaming you by showing herself with not that same perfect body, making fun of it? Now, Hilaria then responds to Amy Schumer and says, listen, I love you. You make me laugh. I was just worried about all the people who do, body shaming and don't view body inclusivity. So first of all, before we even get to the essence of what this is about, because this is about cancel culture, I just want to point out, what are you talking about? What part of you posing in that? Are you body shaming? Are you body shaming fat people if you're skinny and have a good body and wear the fancy lingerie? Is that body shaming to people who don't win this whole thing where if you show something that isn't like everyone else, somehow you're shaming people? So Amy Schumer is body shaming by shaming Hilaria Baldwin for being thin, but she isn't. She's just making fun of it. And Hilaria is like, no, but other people body shame. Okay, so that whole thing right there, the whole like you have to include every single body type, like you can't acknowledge, I mean, we hit a level of ridiculousness. You can't acknowledge body type, can't acknowledge if somebody's overweight, underweight. You could even say somebody's overweight or heavier and they look good. I mean, are you not allowed to have a discrepancy? Are you not allowed to have any judgment anymore? If I look like this and I'm shape and I'm in fit and I've got, working out at the gym, there's nothing wrong with that. But if I'm fat and slovenly, does somebody point out you've gained a lot of weight? Like, are you shaming me? We've hit a point. By the way, I haven't gotten to the big point yet, but we've hit a point where around cancel culture and the whole thing about inclusivity, that you can't say one thing is better than another. You're not allowed to have a preference, not for any reason. So you can't even have it for health reasons. Certainly can't have it for choice reasons. You can't say, I think I like skinny better than fat. No, the very word fat would get you in trouble. And yet we even know from a health point of view, obesity is the #1 killer in America. So we have to just pretend everybody who's overweight, that's fine. You're overweight, so what? No, you're perfect overweight. And again, I'm not saying you can't be overweight. And I'm not saying some people like, fat bottom girls. Some people like big girls and big guys. Nothing wrong with that. But it's okay not to. But even more ridiculous is you can't say one thing is better than the other. And even more ridiculous is that Hilaria Baldwin accuses Amy Schumer of body shaming her when Hilaria is the one that has the so-called perfect body. And why are you posting your perfect body in your tiny little lingerie if that isn't a form? I mean, if that's the subtlemost way you could ever body shame anybody, would be to post that and have all the people who have a baby and don't look like that shortly afterward, they might feel crappy. So, I mean, are you effectively shaming people by posting yourself looking that way? Like, look at how perfect I look after a baby. I'm awesome. You're not. I don't even know. It gets so convoluted. We'll come back to it. And I'd love to know what you guys think about the whole limits we go to shaming people. Hilarity ensues, says Monkey Arms. Yes, hilarity will ensue with hilaria. So let's get to the core. And we can always come back to the body shaming part. But let's get to the core. But it bugs me just before we leave it. It bugs me because you are not allowed anymore. I mean, we've already lost pronouns, right? I mean, gender pronouns. You're gender neutral. I mean, you can't be he, she. In some places they're going to actually, they're talking about in Scotland, they were talking about making it a crime to say somebody was not, that a man could not be a woman and a woman could not be a man. And Candace Owens had her video on YouTube taken down for saying that. So we can't actually even own our own gender if we want to. I mean, at a certain point, guys, there's a thing called biology. I don't care if you want to if you want to change your gender, if you want to claim your gender is neutral. You're undecided. Biology decided for you. And if you're going to argue biology didn't, I mean, at what point do you sort of go, that's absurd? You can't argue biology doesn't pick a gender. Biology created a male gender and a female gender. Sometimes it created kind of a cross gender where the gender lines get overlapped. That's relatively rare. Intersex, it's called. They used to call them hermaphrodites. I did a show with an intersex person. We almost sold it to Bravo. We were just a little ahead of our time. It was an amazing story. I mean, he'd grown up as a boy. With the doctors, when he was a kid, they actually had a twin, and they weren't sure whether he's a boy or a girl, so they had to pick. And so they picked boy. But it wasn't really clear because there was a little confusion down there. They picked boy, and this kid grew up as a boy, but basically had more of a female anatomy and hid her whole life growing up, played on the boys' soccer team, good-looking kid, the whole deal, and then ends up, horrible scenario, gets raped in a bathroom when the locker room finds out that, she has a vagina, basically. And she went through an entire identity change and switched as a young adult to being a woman. It was fascinating because he was like a very effeminate, soft-spoken boy. But when he became a woman, he was like the hottest thing you've ever seen. I mean, I remember the first time I saw him come to me as a her, and I was like, holy, I mean, it's like literally, and it was a whole different personality. She became this like dynamo and totally messed with people's heads. It was actually awesome. We did a pilot for Oxygen and never made it past that. But the point is, there's nothing wrong with exploring your gender if you want, but you can't argue biology doesn't give you one. Yeah, seems like Baldwin's doing some body breaking and then projected body shaming. I like that, Tyler. And we'll talk about that because a lot about this is about how we project things. And don't worry, I'm going to get political before this is all done, but I'm having fun in the culture space right now. So again, you call me whatever you want, say I'm out of touch, say I'm in denial. I'm not. You were born with a biology that is male or female, or sometimes intersex. You can change it, but to deny you could even have it. I mean, the whole very basis of creation, human creation. Now I'm talking divine, I'm talking human, mating, making babies. You have a male and a female biology that come together, right? Sperm, eggs, the whole deal, a uterus, a penis. I mean, to say that's not real, to say that's some white heterosexual projected notion is absurd. You can change it all you want, but it's perfectly real. And to say you can't say men are different than women, but aside from the fact that that's absurd, is the fact that the very thing you're saying you can't do is the very thing so many people fought to do on the progressive side of the scale. Women fought hard to be given the same rights, the same salaries, the same respect, the same treatment as men. And in huge parts of the world, they're not. You've got female infanticide in countries. You've got women still having to wear things over their heads. You can't drive, can't marry. Your husband cheats on you, they kill you. I mean, it's all kinds of sick, absurd things done to women around the world in cultures that are way less developed in a civil way. I don't mean economically, because you've got these wealthy, Middle Eastern countries where they do it. But women in this country and other countries fought hard to be seen as equal to men, and hard for the right to be women in their own right. The feminist movement at all different stages, and it's evolved and changed. It's changed from the 20s to the 50s to the 70s to the 90s to the 2010s and 20s. I mean, it's evolved and changed, and there's many facets to it. But women fought to be women, and now somehow, if you say a woman's a woman, you're like hating on transgender people. Like, it's crazy. And when people who've often come out and been throwing like J.K. Rowling's, under the bus for saying things about, not saying I don't like trans people, simply saying I feel like, at a certain level, men are men, women are women, And think about it. If you have a sex change and if you're me and I have a sex change to become a woman, and I go and I'm in high school and I go wrestle or go play a sport, I'm going to beat every single woman in my class to every single time. That's biology. Male bodies are built different than female bodies. I'm not saying there aren't women that are stronger than men, but, on an even par, we're built differently. We're built bigger, stronger, thicker, broader shouldered overall. Right? Which is why in every single sport there is, the men's sport, the professional version or the college version beats the female version. Not because men are better, because we're built differently. It's not being gender biased. There's a reason why the WNBA can't beat the NBA. The guys are bigger. They're taller. It's not that they're more skilled. We're just built differently by biology. Nothing wrong with that. But again, the J.K. Rowlings who argued that point got slammed and came out and said, I'm actually saying this because I actually fight for the rights of women, which we fought so hard for. And this is the dilemma you get in cancel culture. There's nothing wrong with being inclusive. But what inclusivity means, you can't have any kind of definitional, for lack of a better word, exclusivity. Men are men, women are women. You create a real conundrum that just kind of topples in on itself, because the very thing you're saying you tried to build, now you have to dismiss. And again, I'm fine if you want to be a he, she, be whatever you want, and have a gender sex change if you want, and identify how you want. But don't tell me I can't identify how I want, and don't tell me I can't, with that identification, say I think men are men and women are women. And you can pick your side. We've gotten so far away from that. We have slipped into this space of such a weird relativism that topples in on itself. So back to Hilaria. Hilaria got into trouble after this whole thing, not because of the body shaming, not because of the lingerie with the baby pic, but because what came out in the process was that Hilaria was actually Hillary. She was born Hillary, grew up in the United States in Boston as Hillary, and spent her whole life here, lived some part of it in Europe, but really her family was from Boston. They grew up here. Her dad had a practice for 20 years. You know, she was born here, went to high school here, but decided that she was actually born in Spain, in Mallorca. And, you know, her Twitter account and her CIA agents and all the stuff in her interviews, she's from Spain. And she says, I was born in Spain. I came to the US when I was 19 to go to NYU. And her name's Hilaria. So she sort of left out the part where she was actually born in Boston and is Hillary. Now you could argue, so what? It's just funny. Yes and no. This is where it gets interesting. It is funny. But again, I'm against the whole cancel. She walked up to me and asked me to dance. I asked her name in a dark brown voice. She said, Lola, Lola, Lola. Like it, Tyler. I like it. I like it. Tyler's going intellectual here on us. Yes. Again, don't anybody think I have something against transgender people. Got nothing at all against transgender people. I have something against the notion that we have these rules about we can or can't do, say, or ask. You know, I had a transgender person in one of my classes I coached. And I'd been a guy, had a sex change to be a woman. And we were talking in front of the class, and, you know, I'd interview people, and, you know, as part of the course, we were learning how to be on camera. And I asked her, you know, well, you were a guy before, now you're a woman. What's down there? And she looked at me and she said, you're not allowed to ask that of a transgender person. I said, what do you mean I can't ask that? She's like, that's not okay to ask. And I was like, well, why is that not okay to ask? Like, I'm curious, but you had a sex change. So, and everybody kind of wants to know that. You don't have to answer, but why am I not allowed to ask? She thought about it for a minute. She laughed and she's like, okay, I have a pussy and it's really tight. And she started laughing. She's like, actually, I want to be able to say it, but they say in the LGBT community, you're not supposed to, and you're not supposed to have to be asked. These rules, who set these rules up? The kinks. Yeah, you're right. You're right. Lola, the kinks. For a second, I thought you were going somewhere else with Lolita. But yes, Lola, the kinks. You know what? I'm not good on my music. I'm, you know, my 60s, 70s music. It's 60s, 70s, right? The kinks? No, right? I'm off on that too, right? No, the kinks are the 60s and 70s, right? So again, I don't have a problem with anybody owning whatever they want about themselves and doing whatever they want to their own bodies. I have a problem with telling me what I can or can't think, say, do, or ask. We're going to get to that in a second because there's a second chapter of this story that comes after Hilaria that's all about that. But let's finish with Hilaria, also Hillary. So Hillary was Spanish, but not. She was American, born in Boston, said she was born in Spain. Hilaria was her Spanish name. Goes with that. It sounds good, right? It's sort of adopt someone else's heritage. I get it. It's cool to be from Spain, you know, and gets busted now because of this whole, you know, lingerie pic. She gets busted on that. And instead of going, you guys, I lied, she gets so defensive, so upset, furious that she's being called out. She says, I had to write this down. She says, she complains that she's a victim. She said, I'm getting attacked for being who I am. People want to label me Spanish or American. Can it be both? And she says, can't we just share different parts of ourselves with different people? Okay, that's clever. Yes, I'm Spanish to you. I'm American to you. The problem is you can share whatever you want. You can only be born in one place. You can either be born in Boston or you can be born in Spain. And if you say you were born in Spain and you're Spanish and you were really born in Boston and you're American and your parents are from America, it's kind of called a lie. And maybe everybody lies, but I'm sorry. You just plain lied. You made up an identity that wasn't real and you got caught. So own it And I'm surprised the woke left hasn't gone cultural appropriation. You've appropriated, although Spanish people are kind of like white people, so maybe you can't. Can you culturally appropriate from European white Spanish? I don't know. In Gididi, I don't know if I said that right. In Gigiti, but I'm gonna mangle names. Why is it necessary that I have to participate in protecting other people's self-image by practicing proper pronouns? I think it's a great question in Giggity. I mean, and that's sort of what I'm getting at. Like, it's not my job to protect your self-image. It's a great point. And it doesn't mean I'm going to put down your self-image. I just made really clear, I'm not putting you down for whatever you want. I struggle with all kinds of inner demons. I'm the last person that is going to look at someone else and say, you're twisted and messed up because you think you're a guy or a girl. I told you, I created a show with someone who'd gone through that life experience, and I got to know her really well. And it was a really powerful, powerful experience in how this person had to walk two sides of a gender line and actually wanted to be a guy because identified with it and been raised that way his whole life. But his biology was more female and ultimately had more power as a woman. So I get it. But it's not your job to take care of somebody else's self-image around that. And more importantly, as Ngididi says, why, when you raise that, are you transphobic? Why the minute you question, the minute you say a guy's a guy, a woman's a woman, you're transphobic? I'm not transphobic. You can pick whatever you want, and you can call yourself whatever you want. I'm allowed to go. Remember, we follow the science. The science. And again, I know there's people out there will be like, no, you don't understand. Biology doesn't really just make men and women. It does. It makes males and females, and sometimes intersex where you get a cross and you can have parts of both genitalia. Basically, there is a female genitalia and a male genitalia, and it's in every species. Maybe I'm missing. Maybe there's some bug that it isn't in. I think there is. I think there's some like eunuch Aphrodite bug or whatever. I agree, monkey arms. And nobody wants to be attacked if you're wrong on a pronoun. And the reality is you kind of almost, the pronoun police do suck. But again, it's like, use whatever pronoun you want. Don't make me use it. And again, that doesn't mean I'm not going to look at somebody and say, they say identify as a she. I'm not going to be like, you are he. I'll call you she. I'm fine. But don't make me have to get it right. Don't punish me for nothing. Don't punish me for not choosing to do it myself. Or as I said, for owning the science. Again, the science has two genders. You can pick whichever one you want to move into. I got a problem with getting kids before they have a chance, like early on, giving them hormone therapy and all that. Again, I saw this all up close, what hormone therapy can do to a young person, to their brains, to their bodies long term. It's significant and it's invasive and can be really dangerous over time. So I'm not a fan of people doing that and going, well, my kid hasn't decided their time. Like, you know what? But as an adult, make whatever choice you want. Yeah, well, again, you shouldn't have to qualify. That's the whole thing in Giggity. You shouldn't have to say, I love gay people. Shouldn't have to say, I like trans people. Shouldn't have to qualify because you choose to identify it's almost like saying, is heterosexuality not a thing? I mean, I get that people were upset when people claimed that, sexual orientation was a choice. They used to call it sexual preference. I get it. If you're born a certain way, you're born that way. You're born straight or you're born gay. It's not that anybody can't explore and even discover along the way, but there's a biology to it. And most gay people will acknowledge they knew they were gay very early on. They were attracted to the same sex. I've always been attracted to women. Some men are always been attracted to men, just the way they were. It's in their biology. And they fought hard to have it stop being a choice, a preference, and instead it's an orientation. It's how you're born. Your gender, your sexuality is how you're born. Gay people fought hard for that, allow that to be acknowledged. I'm not choosing to be gay. I was born that way, and there's nothing wrong with that. Fair enough. And I was born heterosexual, and there's nothing wrong with that. But suddenly if I had to say, well, you can't claim heterosexuality and it is a specific thing. You can't claim being gay. I'm going to say gay because if I say homosexuality, it's that word. It sounds so creepy and old, scary. But being gay is somehow not a thing. It is. It's a real thing. It's a biological thing. Same as being born male or being born female. You can choose whatever pronouns you want. You can have whatever operations you want. You can choose whatever identity you want. You can dress however you want. You don't change the science. Granted, if you have a sex change, you've changed your body to be a different gender, but you've switched to the other gender. Still two genders. Hilaria. We're going to get back to Hilaria. So my problem with what happened with Hilaria is this. Her defensiveness, that she somehow was being now the victim. And Alec jumps in. Alec Baldwin, hothead himself, jumps in all over this. And he says, you know what? It's just a lot of shit. Twitter is just a vast orchard of crap. An orchard of crap. And he acknowledges, and I planted in that orchard, so I'm guilty. Yeah, you're guilty of doing the very thing you're pissed now that it's being done to you. This is the problem with cancel culture. You're shaming, you're canceling, and then when it turns around and starts canceling you, you're like, this is crap, this is horrible, Twitter's horrible. Well, yeah, but you've been using Twitter to bash on people. I mean, that's the problem. It comes back to get you. Now you're pissed because it's getting someone you love, and he acknowledged it. It's gone after someone I love. And I don't think she should be canceled, but called out, that's legit. You're not Spanish. You're not a victim. Why can't you be both? You can't be both born in Spain and born in America. Same back to my point. You can't both be born a male and born a female, except in the rare case of the intersex. Hilaria is not an intersex Spanish American. You're born in one place or the other. You lied. It's that simple. She went on a show like Good Morning America and did some food segment, and she didn't know how to pronounce the word cucumber. She said, I don't know. She said, I don't know what the word for it is in English. You grew up in Boston, Massachusetts. You went to high school in Boston. Your name was Hillary. You know what the word for cucumber is in English. I don't know what it is in Spanish, but you know what it is in English. That or you're buying your own Kool-Aid. I'm guessing you knew the word cucumber. You didn't somehow not learn the word cucumber. You grew up in America. You lived a little time in Spain. Yeah, part of your childhood or whatever. But you grew up. You went to high school in America. You were born in America. You spoke English. You learned English and Spanish. Sometimes people who learn a second language, when they come to a place, don't know certain words. You always know the words in your native language. So if you grew up with two native tongues, you almost always know the words in both. She didn't know cucumber. It's total BS. She was playing a role, appropriating another culture, appropriating another identity. I'm fine with that. Go live your fantasy. But this is where cancel culture gets you in trouble, because it'll come after you. And it came after her, and now she's a victim. She's a victim. Poor, and Alec Baldwin's daughter, her stepdaughter, comes out and is like, oh, God, this is horrible. You're being picked on, Ireland Baldwin. You're being picked on. It's such a hard time. I can't believe people giving you a hard time. It's such a hard time when people aren't with their families and people are dying of COVID. And I'm thinking, whoa, first of all, one doesn't have to do with the other. I'm sick of people being picked on like this. But you don't get to be the pickers on and then complain when you're getting picked on. That's my problem. You are the pickers on. Hilaria, Alec Baldwin, you pick on people. You use Twitter to pick on people. Don't be angry when they pick on you because you lied. And you know what? I'm guessing that Hilaria, Hillary, Baldwin, and Alec don't have it that hard. This pushes my button when people who have means and affluence and privilege and celebrity talk about how hard the pandemic is. The pandemic's hard. The pandemic is gut-wrenchingly, devastatingly hard on so many Americans. You're not among them. You can do pretty much what you want. Maybe you can't do as much as you could, but you can do pretty much what you want. And you can pretty much bring in whatever you want. You want to bring in a chef, have him live with you. Bring in a trainer, have him live with you. Build a whole new studio, do whatever. Travel, live. You got money, you got celebrity, you got fame, you got property. You're going to be fine. You're not the people living in downtown Los Angeles. You're not the people who the parents of the kids that I was on the board of an inner city high school in Los Angeles who literally are living 8 people packed in a small apartment. You're not the people I saw in Florida before Christmas when I went with my buddy, Robert Relaford, who has a role model foundation and goes out and tries to actually give families, not just like a restart, giving them furniture, giving them food, but helping work on the kids to help them get a better understanding of how to value what they have and not make the mistakes that they otherwise might make. I mean, I saw these kids. We went on, right before Christmas. These are amazing young little kids, teenagers, 10 to 17. And you know what? It's a matter of time without the right guidance before they could end up in such a world of hell. And they know it. So this guy's foundation is in there trying to make a difference and prevent that from happening. But I went into their little project homes, and they're like cinder block homes with nothing. I mean, people like sleeping like literally no beds, kids sleeping on the floor. It's horrible. And it's not that none of the moms are working. Like a mom's working at a gas station, has 5 kids. She can't make enough to do that. She needs support, but more than just money, they need more long-term support. And that's what this foundation's doing. So those people, I thought about it, stuck in these little cinder blocks, windows taped over, no drapes, crappy stuff. I mean, you're stuck in that? Sleeping on the floor? And your kids are home from school 24/7? All of you piled in a tiny little cinder block that looks like it's the janitor basement thing with pipes? That's tough. I'm sorry, Hilaria Baldwin. I don't think you have or Ireland Baldwin too, or Alec Baldwin. You have so tough. And grow a pair. Because you know what? You picked on people long enough, you deserve to get picked on back. All right. Done with that rant, guys. All right, let me switch it to the other part. Bill Burr's SNL's opening about white women co-opting the woke movement was the best, and here we are. Yeah, I'd agree with you. I would actually agree. I didn't see the opening you're talking about. So if you want, Marky Arms, explain that a teeny bit more. But I do agree that white women, but I've seen other things like it, and I agree that white women have kind of co-opted the woke movement, and and it's sort of true. I mean, look, white people kind of co-opted the Black Lives Matter movement, We're out there on these protests, tons of white people, some black people, no one from the hood. You go into an inner city community, go into an impoverished community, ask them how many were out protesting. I've done it. Oh, none of them. And ask them how many of them thought it was going to make a difference. They're like, none of them. It's a bunch of white people feeling good about themselves. I'm not saying there weren't black people. There were. And I'm not saying they didn't have a legitimate grievance or reason to be out there. But white people took it on, put a black square on their Instagram. Woohoo! I am throwing my white privilege out the window, guys. I'm going to a rally. I'm posting a square. I'm calling out everybody who says or does anything that I don't think is woke. Man, I am committed. I mean, I'm not giving anything up. I mean, don't ask me to give up my stuff. Don't ask me to give my shit up. Don't ask me to give my place up. What, do you want my job? No. You want my spot in school? No. Wait. No. You want my movie? No. Wait. You make a movie and put black people in it, but I want my movie in there too. I want to win the Oscar. Nobody's giving anything up. They're just happy to call everybody else out. Every single woke white person who's done this should literally be like, step aside, give your place in college up, give your job up, give your salary up, give your house up, give it all up, give it to somebody else who needs it. Don't just say there should be more. Make the step, It's a joke, Bob Iger. Step aside from Disney. Well, he did, but I mean, step aside and give the job to a black person. No. No white director stepping down and giving the job to like the white person. Someone who hates gay people, anyone refusing to know about the situation. You're welcome. And again, you shouldn't have to qualify it. When people you get cornered into this box of having to qualify it. That's where you get in trouble. Like the minute you're defending yourself, saying, "Well, I have friends who are black." Well, wait, I have friends who are gay. People, right? See, don't even go there. It's a stupid rationalization to defend something. I interviewed David Duke, the former Ku Klux Klan head, racist, yes, on my Fox News show, and he pretended he wasn't a racist. We didn't pretend. He actually thought he wasn't. I was like, are you kidding me? Like, you hate black people. You hate Jews. Look what you do. Look what the Ku Klux Klan is. He said, I have friends who are black and Jewish. I was like, well, you went there. You went to I have black friends. I ran the Ku Klux Klan, but I have black friends. Oh my. Yeah, don't even go there. Don't. It's not the way to defend your case is to say I like gay people. It's like, no. I mean, I do, but I'm saying, my whole point is I shouldn't have to qualify that. I like people in general. I don't pick. I don't like you because you're something or not something. I don't dislike you because you're gay or trans or black or white or whatever your religion. I base it on a person. And that's not saying I'm colorblind. I'm not. Or gender blind. I'm not. I hate when people say I'm colorblind. Nobody's colorblind. The first thing you see is color. Gender and color. It's the first thing you see. Ask any black person. What's the first thing? Ask any black guy. What's the first thing people see when they look at him? White people will say 100 other things. A black person, they see that I'm black. And that's how we see things. We see gender and color, race right away. There's nothing wrong with that. Black people worked hard to create an identity as Black Americans. That's okay. As did gay people, as did women. But, you know, you don't have to qualify. Because I think men are men and women are women. I also want to point out I like trans people. And again, be trans. You're saying, Monkey Arms, that women stood by the oppressors for hundreds of years. Is that you're saying that white women did? I'm not sure. I might have missed the point. I guess that's what Monkey Arms is saying, that white women stood by the oppressors. Yeah, okay. I'm catching on, Monkey Arms. I'm a little slow. I have to read between the lines, the subtext. Oh, and Giggity, you are Black. Okay, so that's interesting. So no, it's not interesting that you're Black. I just mean that you're pointing that out. Obviously, I wouldn't know that from what you were saying. So would you, I don't know if you're a man or a woman, but would you agree with what I'm saying? That, like, again, I think white people tend to pretend they don't see color as if somehow that's a positive. I don't see color. Sometimes on the left and the right. And I think we do see color, and there's nothing wrong with seeing color, right? As a Black person, you have an identity. You may be, I'm an American, I'm a man, I'm a woman, but you're also a Black person. And I think in general, you have to know that people see color right away. I mean, everybody does. Everybody does, whether they want to or not. You know, some of the most obnoxious things I ever see is when I've hung out with white liberals before, and you see a Black guy coming down the street, and there's this immediate crunching of the purse and the leaning in and the whole deal. And I'm like, what the? Did that person somehow telescope to you that they're going to rob you because it's a tall Black guy? And every tall Black guy I know says, yeah, I see it. I see more. It's a built-in. It's what we call not subconscious racism, but yeah, is it called subconscious racism or subliminal racism? It's kind of wired into people. But yes, we notice color. All right. So speaking of the color thing, I want to shift gears onto this. This is the second piece. Actions define the person. Couldn't agree more, Tyler. This is the second piece of this, of the cancel culture thing, because here's where it comes in an ugly way. There was a New York Times article that came out. It was called "The Racial Slur, a Viral Video and a Reckoning." Sounds pretty heavy. Sounds pretty big, right? A racial slur, a viral video, and a reckoning. It's made for Hollywood, this thing, right? Well, the story is that there's a 3-second video that a young girl, Mimi Groves, did on Snapchat. And in those 3 seconds, she said the N-word when she was 14. 3 years later, another kid, a classmate, Jimmy Gallagher, posts that video viral in the midst of the George Floyd stuff. And Mimi, who's a cheerleader, captain of her cheer squad, wants to go to University of Tennessee and, you know, is accepted. Knoxville, University of Tennessee, Knoxville. She's going to be on the cheer team. Suddenly is pulled off the cheer team, pressured by the administration of the school to withdraw from the college, from social pressure for what she did, using the N-word when she was 14 in a 3-second Snapchat 3 years later. And the New York Times piece, so that's what happened. The New York Times piece is this complete, like, you know, she did it. She got caught. He saved it. Like this teenage, you know, revenge narrative. Saved it, dumped it out 3 years later, and got her. And he says, if I never posted that vid, nothing would have happened. He says, I tell myself I started something. I taught someone a lesson. And he's proud. In the New York Times, it's the reckoning. She got it, man. She got what she deserved. That little white racist got what she deserved. Okay, that little white racist was a 15-year-old, 14, 15-year-old girl singing along to a rap song in a car that had the N-word in it. And it said, I can drive N-word. I'm not going to say it. I'm not going to go there. I've done that before. You're singing a song. You're 14. It's a rap song that's out there for you to listen to. You didn't buy it in the underground market. It's not child porn. It's a publicly available, commercially for sale, download on iTunes song. And she sings along, and for 3 seconds, that word comes across, I can drive N-word. And that 3 years later gets her kicked off the team, booted out of school, and publicly shamed. And she even comes out and apologizes. And the New York Times is so proud that she got canceled. Good for Jimmy. Good for Jimmy for taking her down. Man, this is where cancel culture goes so askew. You know, I talked about this about a year and a half ago. Gina Rodriguez, the actress from Jane the Virgin, got in trouble for doing this very same thing. She was singing along to a Fuji song, and it had the N-word in it. And I think she's driving in her car too. In any case, it's like she's on Instagram, her singing along to the words of this Fuji song. And she gets blasted for using the N-word. Blasted. And she's like, okay, wait, I'm sorry. I love the Fugees. I love their music. I was just singing along. She's a Latina. I was just singing along to the song. I love the song. I wasn't like using the word to anyone. I was just singing the lyrics to the song. She got blasted. So she apologized, Gina Rodriguez. And then she got blasted further for defending the fact that she somehow, while she apologized, justified that she didn't know she was doing anything wrong. So she had to go a step further and apologize for not knowing that what she was doing was wrong. Well, which part of what not doing did you think was wrong? You were singing the lyrics to a word. Are you supposed to literally sing a song and just stop when the N-word comes up? I mean, if you want to take the N-word out, take it out. Don't let it be published. Don't let it be said. Don't let it be sung. I'm not a word censor fan, but that's what, and I don't go around saying the N-word. But if you want to do it, censor the word, censor it. If you're going to sell the music, if you're going to sell the lyrics, if you're going to let people buy it, you can't expect them. And to genuinely, as fans, love it. You want them to just stop when they get to the word and leave it out? Like, it's absurd. Gina Rodriguez didn't do anything wrong. In fact, she loves the Fugees. She loves the band. She's a fan, a celeb fan, singing along. She not only apologized, she had to do the mental group thing. Mimi Groves had to do the same thing. She had to apologize. No, actually, mask you idiot. I don't want to freely use the N-word. That's not my point at all. I actually have no desire to be able to freely use the N-word. So I didn't use it now. That's not my point. My point isn't that I want to be able to freely use it. My point is that you can't punish someone for singing along to the words of a song. I get why the N-word. I get why black people go, that word is our word. That's fine. It can be your word. But if you're going to publish it, if you're going to put it out there in a mainstream form as art and music, which is a form of art that people sing along to, they get in the groove of. People sing songs aloud. It's how we listen and play with music. You can't punish people for merely doing that. There's one thing if you use the word at a person, or if you even just use the word. But to use it in singing along to mimicking the lines of a song. But even if you thought it was wrong, did Mimi deserve to have her life totally trashed for innocently singing along to a song when she was 14 on Snapchat? There's a sidebar lesson. Maybe nobody should put anything on Snapchat or YouTube or Instagram that they don't want to come back to haunt them. I'm not sure how I feel about that. It's sort of like if no one would say anything anymore. And I'm a believer people should say things. But no, mask you idiot. I want to be clear. I don't actually have any desire to freely use the N-word. So I don't know why you think that, but I don't. Hello, Inverse Impact. But it's an interesting response to what I'm saying. Because if that's what you think, that I somehow, in what I'm saying is saying I want to use the N-word. No, I'm not a Trumpist. Well, we're going all over here with Reddit. No, I'll be honest. I was a fan, but let me ask you, are you asking that because of what I'm saying with this? Because again, the fact that I'm making an argument, which I am, for being against cancel culture, my argument against cancel culture, guys, is that cancel culture ends up canceling the very people who started cancel culture. That's the whole point. The whole Hilaria Baldwin thing is you get canceled. Eventually it comes around because everything gets canceled. You start, Bill Maher, who is no Trumpist, saying, cancel culture and the extremism of woke politics will literally put everyone in a censorship box. And sooner or later, it will censor the very people who started censoring. It always works that way. So no, I'm not a Trumpist. I'm not a Trumpist. I was, full disclosure, I voted for Bernie Sanders the first time, but I was glad that Trump got elected initially because I hate both political parties and I wanted a bull in the China shop to come in and tear things up. I distrust the institutions. I distrust the Republicans. I distrust the Democrats. I distrust the incumbent long-term members of Congress. And I distrust the bureaucracy in Washington. I distrust the intelligence communities, which, by the way, you guys on the left, really, you fell in love with the intelligence communities because they hated Trump because Trump went after them. You should distrust the intelligence communities. Edward Snowden showed us what happens. Our government's sitting there spying on us. Edward Snowden points it out, and literally he's a traitor for pointing out that they were breaking the law and spying on us. How are you a traitor for doing that? You pointed out that the U.S. government's breaking its laws that prevent it from spying on people, spying on us, American citizens, and you're a traitor? No, I distrust them all, but I'm not a Trumpist. And what I'm saying has nothing to do with a Trump mindset. It has to do with a free thought mindset. And I want to focus back on this story in the New York Times. Looks like Crafty invited Ngigity to come on. Come on, Ngigity. I want to know why you're Ngigity. That's a tough one for me. I can't pronounce it. Ngigity. I'll get it. Ngigity.
Yeah, we'll try to get him on next week.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and anybody else who has a lot to say, we'll make you so you can come on and chat for a couple minutes if you want to come out from behind the text. He's trolling me. Okay, Tyler says he's trolling me. I don't know. I'm okay being trolled, I guess. Honestly. I agree, Monkey Arms. And, and I know you're more of a liberal, and I appreciate that. I want to acknowledge that because I don't think all liberals by any means are in the woke mob at all. I think the woke mob is like the alt-right. At a certain level, it's these two super extremes. But, I mean, the New York Times is where I see the fail. Look, the kid does what she does. The other kid does what he does. You almost can't blame him. He's a teenager too, being told by the institutions, go after it, cancel them. I mean, that's sort of the message you get. I think one day that kid may grow up and realize, wow, I screwed up somebody's whole life. And the truth is, she didn't do something that terrible. It would be bad if she'd called someone the N-word on Snapchat. And even then, I know their whole life should get canceled. People do and say stupid things when they're 13, 14, 15. But she wasn't calling anybody the name. She wasn't directing the N-word at anybody. She was merely singing the lyrics of a song while she was driving a car. And those were the lyrics of the song about driving a car. Sad. But the New York Times, for raising this up, a viral video, a racial slur, a viral video, and a reckoning. And good for him for reckoning. We're getting drilled home that it's so great when you can cancel people, when you can destroy them. The problem is, like I said, it's going to come back and destroy you. The schools, the adults, the school backed down because they got so much heat. They got hundreds of emails. Don't let her in school. Don't let her in school. Don't let this girl in school because when she was 3 years earlier, 14 years old, she sang the words of a rap song driving a car that had the N-word in it. And for that, she should not be allowed to go to college. I mean, we've gone nuts, guys. But here's the thing. It'll come back and get everyone. That's the thing you got to remember about cancel culture. Yeah, New York Times is always looking for clicks. I get it, Tyler. But the New York Times continues to lose credibility, and Bari Weiss, who was, again, I'm not saying Bari Weiss was like a lefty. She's not. She's a centrist, Although, it's funny, right? You look at her, talk to her, listen to her, right? She's like a millennial. She's gay. She lives in San Francisco. She's hardly like a right-winger. Not that a right-winger couldn't be gay and live in San Francisco. Well, the living in San Francisco part would be tough. But I'm just saying, Bari Weiss was basically a centrist, a little to the left sometimes, maybe a teeny bit to the right sometimes, probably a little left of me. And was a writer for the editorial board of the New York Times and quit after finally being like, look, there's no room for me at this paper. I'm not allowed to have any views. And you've seen it, again, you see it over and over again, right? Andrew Sullivan leaving The Nation, right? A left-wing publication that he was a huge voice for 20 years and probably their most popular writer, also gay. You know, sometimes a little conservative, but overall not a conservative, and a huge like anti-Trumper and you know, pro everything on the left. Left finally because he wrote one column in which he criticized critical race theory, which is not to get into because we're running out of time, but the whole idea that like basically, you know, everything that white people created and done has to be sort of disposed, and you have to follow things based on a racial platform. That's such an oversimplification, but in other words, it's the basis for which you go, hey, you know, you can dismiss anything because a white guy created it, and there's a new set of rules. It's where the pronouns come from. It's where you can say logic doesn't count. It's where you can say math is a white man's creation, you know, shouldn't be used, you know. But it's also the whole idea that racial and gender identity are everything. He criticized it, said it doesn't make sense. It's a crazy academic theory, and he had to leave. You see these people leaving publications. You know, what's his name? The Greg Greenwald, the you know, co-founder of The Intercept, leaving, all saying there's no room in journalism anymore for free thought. So the New York Times wants clicks, but they've also lost all sense of objectivity, all sense of like not being on a mission to accomplish something. And that's a little scary to me. Cancel culture is scary. And like I said, we'll all get canceled sooner or later. I did not know that. I do so love to suck dick. How did you get that name? How did you get that? How did Reddit let you have that name? How have you not been canceled? And are you a guy or are you a woman? That's the question. Hilarious post for a Latina magazine. Yeah, and look, again, you're not a Latina because you lived in Spain. She was born in the U.S. She's white. Her family isn't from Spain. I think she said when asked, I have all different ethnic origins. Her family moved to Spain. Her parents moved to Spain 8 years ago. She's growing up now. They moved to Spain 8 years ago, her parents. They're not from Spain. They were from Boston. She wasn't Spanish. She lived in Spain. I lived in China for a little while. Does that make me part Chinese? I don't think so. Just like a white guy from the Midwest who lived in China. I could speak Chinese. I could even grow up there. I wouldn't be Chinese. I'd be a white American guy who lived in China. No part of me would suddenly become part Chinese, just because I lived there. Bari Weiss is a trash can. Double Calhoun. Why? Why do you say that? Why is Bari Weiss a trash can? Because she literally, what? She had the guts to just try to be an independent voice? She's a trash can for that? I mean, if you read what happened to her, if you read what she said, and I recommend you all do, read her outgoing, you know, letter of resignation. Read what other journalists who know her said about her. If you're on the left, listen to what Bill Maher said about her. I think Bill Maher had her on. She's not a trash can. She merely was trying to speak as an independent voice and hardly a conservative, and was like told over and over again, you can't say it, you can't do it, you can't, we're not going to let you. And she was humiliated, trash talk, beat up on socials inside the New York Times, and said, you know, a young reporter will have a story and they'll go and they'll say, you know, the editors will be like, yeah, go with it. And she was like, don't, because the editors will throw you under the bus, because everyone's in that woke mindset. The narrative, as she put it, the narrative determines the history. History used to determine the narrative. Now the narrative determines the history. Yeah, Bari Weiss isn't the only one saying that. That's why I pointed out Andrew Sullivan. That's why I pointed out Greg Greenwald, like, you know, The Intercept. These are not right-wing publications. They're left. Well, I don't know why you guys hate Bari Weiss so much, but again, you know, if you're on the left and you hate Bari Weiss, because what? Because she called out the New York Times for being completely lost all sense of objectivity in journalism? Again, you know, you want to throw everyone under the bus? Throw Andrew Sullivan under the bus. Throw Glenn Greenwald under the bus. Throw, what's her name? Franny from the English, The Guardian, a left-wing English paper, who quit, same thing, around transphobic stuff, and said, look, I literally was just making a case for women. I've been a writer for this publication for decades. I'm a lefty. You throw, like, again, when the left challenges the left narrative, they get thrown under the bus. Sooner or later, we'll come back to, okay, I like that. I like your newsroom reflects who you are, and that's why you picked it. I'm a guy. And I'm still not sure why you hate Bari Weiss so much. I'd like to know. In Giggity, like Family Guy. Okay. All right, cool. All right, you guys, look, I'm over my time limit. I'm supposed to get out at 15.
Hey, by the way, in Giggity just tried to join us.
That's all right. We'll do it another time, because we're at 55 minutes, you know, and it looks like in Giggity's having a problem, right? In Giggity should come on. Well, all right, we got 2 minutes for you in Giggity.
Yeah, I'll put them on. I'll put them on.
We got 2 minutes. We're doing a quick appearance. If it works.
We're going to bring you on right now.
You there, Giggity? Come on in. Join the family. Join the fun. Hey, how are you? Oh, we can't hear your audio.
He's muted.
Unmute him. Can you unmute yourself, Giggity? No.
You're muted.
You're muted. See that mute button right there? So if you can't unmute it, we're going to just have to have you. But now we get to see you. We'll have to have you on. Come on next week, all right? Yeah, I don't know if he can hear us. You can hear us? But you can't unmute. So you know what? We'll have Bruce go back and forth with you on social and figure out how to get you so you're unmuted for the next one. Is that good? Thank you for watching, Agati. Thank you for showing up. I wish you could talk. You see a button in there that says unmute? No. We're being censored in Giggity. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We're not being censored. It's not real. This is not the StreamYard's fault. This is not social platforms. This is just pure COVID technology messing with our heads. And Giggity, thanks for trying to join us. We'll have you on next time. Peace out. All right, you guys. That was fun. I wanted to get him on, Crafty. You know?
Yeah, we tried.
Look, you do me a favor, Crafty. Come on up for a sec before we wrap this up. Oh, you're a black square too now? Oh, there you are. Good. I saw you on my thing. You were just a square. You were doing your Instagram square. Listen, let's get him on next time, and let's let other people know if they want to come on. Crafty, there's a way you can do it. There's a link, and you can join on a StreamYard link, and you come on, and you have to figure out so that we make sure you're unmuted, because in his case, in Giggity's case, he was muted, which is a bummer, but we couldn't get past that mute button. It's on your end, on your device, right? But we can work it out in the future, right?
Yeah, and I put it on the Reddit AMA of the join link, so people are aware. Yeah,
so people can join. And again, if you're having a problem with that, my guess is, Crafty, right? It's in somewhere in their settings, right? Something's muting on the device.
Yeah, when you come on, when you come on, it asks you, do you want to approve your video and do you want to approve your audio? So you have to say yes.
And if you don't, you probably have to go back out and start over again.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So that's what we'll do next time. Yeah, Chris Matthews got smacked off the left too, Tyler, and we're wrapping up, guys. But I just want to say, and I'm not a big defender of Chris Matthews, although I like the fact that he was a bull in a china shop. But, he said some pretty obnoxious things about women, and I think it's legit to call him out for that. But, again, because it sounded pretty creepy, although some of it seemed less creepy than others. But again, I'm not going to go defend some old guy who's like saying creepy shit to women. Like, it's just not going to happen. But he did get beat up by the left. He totally got beat up for doing that. Yeah, I agree. Monkey Arms. I didn't know you were a commie lefty, but I like that you're saying you're a commie lefty liberal. I like you're owning that. But let me just leave it at that, Monkey Arms. I think we're making progress when a commie lefty liberal like you, Monkey Arms, says, I'm sick of race, gender, sexual orientation being the newsworthy part of the reporting. I think we can all agree that's not helping anybody. And I think the right would agree with that. I just found a little common ground where I think the right and the left can agree, well, at least some of the left, like you, Monkey Arms, that making race, gender, and sexual orientation the main part of the reporting, it's falling right down that critical race theory trap, and it's getting us nowhere. All right, last thought before we go. I just want to whip this out real quick. There was a really moving story, Instagram. A young woman in New York committed suicide. She jumped off a high. She was at an attraction, a big giant thing, and she jumped off it and killed herself. And she left an Instagram post, and the post somehow didn't go. It was supposed to go the next day, so it actually came out today. And in the post, she says, "If you're reading this, I'm not here anymore." And I'm pointing it out because it's fascinating, sort of, and tragic. That somebody would post their Instagram, would post their obituary, their suicide note to Instagram, says a lot about the times we live in. But she didn't do it in a callous or cold way. She did it in a really heartfelt, really touching way. She even mixed humor in, She made little sort of jokes about the whole thing. And she said, I appreciate all the love everyone's given me. I've struggled with depression, with anxiety, with anorexia. And No one could have saved me from this. So don't anybody feel guilty. This was my choice. But she thanked all those who supported her, all those who'd given her love. She'd been pretty active on social media about her issues. And you know, and put it on social media and jumped. I'm pointing it out. If those of you who've watched my show know, I lost a brother to suicide. He, you know, died of suicide. And it's a horrible thing, you know. And I've said before, I've stopped saying committing suicide. You know, Chester Bennington, the Linkin Park singer who died of suicide's former wife, convinced me that you don't commit suicide any more than you commit cancer. It's something that you do if you're willing to end your life, do the most fundamentally, the thing you're biologically designed not to do. You know, a suicidal person will struggle to get up from underwater if they're not weighted down. If you're willing to do that, you're messed up inside deeply in a way you can't control. And it's tragic and it's painful, but I point it out as a lesson. This woman did this in such a beautiful and oddly unique to the times we live in way. And I just want to say to everybody out there, these are hard times. A lot of people feel like they're in Groundhog Day. A lot of people are suffering, hurting right now. The person right next to you, someone in your household, a friend, someone down the block, a coworker, you don't know who, someone you pass in the grocery store, could be so close to that edge. So many people are. Suicides are up. Depression is off the charts. I said I'm a person who deals with depression. I feel it. I felt it today. The heaviness, the clouds that come over. So in the middle of all this, guys, I just want to leave on a note of, this is why I hate the cancel culture, because it's such a hateful kind of approach. We all make mistakes. We're all human and we're all suffering in our own ways. So walk away from my show today. And after you know, follow and share, just kidding. Be kind to somebody. You have no idea. You might be saving a life. Thanks for watching. I'm Rob Nelson.